Hi, I'm late as usual. However, this is a good chance to explain why this video is late. And the last sub-special. And the one before that. As you may know, I upload weekly, but what I upload depends on a few factors. I have my own video idea list that I work on, but I also do videos with other players. For example, my solo of Alaskan Deal a couple weeks back. That video was recorded several weeks before I uploaded it, but you'll notice it only came after the duo videos and the 4-player runs. This is because a lot of the people I record with are also recording, and I don't want to make them hold the video until I upload it, which is why a lot of personal videos, like this one, come out so late. With that said, let's get into some ideas you guys gave me on the community post I made. No. I don't have a clip of this with Commando, but I do have this.
That was some explosion! Jack, it's been down! The driver's waiting on the street! Get Hawks up there! Roof is down!
So it's not quite what you're asking for, but it's the best I have. I do have a plan to make a tier list of perk decks eventually, but that would have to be in a video of its own. For now, I can just make a tier list of my favorite decks to play. Unsurprisingly, Kingpin is at the top. It's my favorite perk deck, one of the strongest in the game, and lots of fun to play. But if I'm not playing Kingpin, then I'll also play Hacker. It's a very versatile deck with lots of healing and lots of dodge. It lets you kill Whore pretty hard, and I quite enjoy that. Similar to Anarchist, actually. It's a little bit less versatile than Hacker, but it has a huge damage output due to its synergy with Berserker, and it also has a very high skill ceiling, meaning you can always play it and learn more. As for decks that I find fun, Armorer is really fun to me. It's slow and it's effective, and most of all, it just feels nice to play. Sicario is like Kingpin, but a little bit different, so it makes sense why it's up this high. Crook is like Armor, but with a little bit of dodge on the side. It is very expensive, so there's not too much that you can do with it, but the playstyle kind of makes up. As for Tag Team, you know, I'm an Ethan main, I gotta like it. But really, it is a pretty fun deck, lots of people write it off without giving it a chance. As long as you can kill a lot of enemies, it works pretty well. Grinder is also a deck that I enjoy quite a lot. It has more of a passive playstyle, but it works pretty well for me. Next would be the perk decks that I kind of enjoy, such as Infiltrator. To me, Infiltrator plays like Armor, but a little bit slower. It also has a focus on health, which I can work with pretty well. Sociopath has a lot of options to it, but I don't really play that much of it in my off time just by itself. Ex-President is a really fun deck, but I'm just not very good at it, which is why I don't enjoy it that much. Stoic is Stoic, what can I say, it's the strongest deck in the game. If you want to relax, I guess I'll pick it. I'll never really run it just for fun. I'll only ever use it if I need to carry something really horrible, or if I'm using it for Frenzy. Otherwise, it's at the bottom of my enjoyable list. As for perk decks that I'm sort of indifferent to, Yakuza's up there. There's really not that much you can do with it. Just get an ICTV and that's about it. You get to run fast at least, that's kinda cool. Maniac has a really easy 3-shot setup, but it's really expensive, and aside from that, there's not much you can do with the perk deck. Burglar is just kinda plain. Just like the other two decks, there's not much you can do with it. Gambler is an overly cautious style. Yes, I do like more slow-paced gameplay, such as Armor and Infiltrator, but Gambler is just too slow. Rogue exists, I guess. I'm not a fan. It's just bland. I guess you can mess around with the weapon switch speed, but that's really about all I can get from it. As for Crew Chief, it's a really good deck, but I just don't like it. It's just too boring to play for me. Muscle has the same issue that Gambler has. It's too slow. But unlike Gambler, it also doesn't have a very interesting concept, so I'd rather not play it. As for the perk decks that I don't want to play, Hitman is there. It's bland, not much to it. but worst of all, it's limiting. I love options in games, and Hitman, unless you're playing with akimbo weapons, there's no real purpose to using the deck. And seeing as the akimbo SMGs got buffed, there's even less of a reason to run this deck. Biker... Biker. Look, this deck has potential, but I just can't stand it. The armor gating is extremely good sometimes, and extremely bad other times. It's completely team dependent, but I guess if you wanted to, you can play it for health. Aside from that, there's really nothing you can do with this perk deck. If you like randomly being God mode and randomly being nothing, play Biker. And there's my tier list of perk decks that I enjoy playing. All of those are for Loud because I only ever really play Loud. I basically never play Stealth unless I'm specifically asked to by someone for help with an achievement or whatever. But that's all I really have to say regarding perk decks. As much as I would love for that to be my average day, it really isn't. I do a lot of things outside of YouTube and generally playing games. I spend a lot of time with my family, I'm in a lot of different sports, and on top of that I also have school. But really, there's not that much interesting stuff I do. When it comes to this game's balance, there's a lot to be desired. Before starting to balance something, you always have to figure out how you want it to play. This is a huge issue that Overkill has had historically. If you see many players saying that the balance changes made out of nowhere and completely random, it's because they mainly are. It seems whoever is doing the balancing at Overkill doesn't know what they want out of the game, which is how we ended up in the state we are in now. As for how I would change everything, that might also have to be a video on its own, as I think there is a lot to change in skills, weapons, deployables, perk decks, and most every other element in the game. And now for the most commented thing, builds. I plan on eventually making builds for each perk deck, unless I just can't make anything interesting. Anyone can just make a build for a perk deck, but I'm not really interested in that. I'm a lot more about doing something unique with a perk deck, rather than just making a specific build for it. For example, I could very easily have made the Sociopath video just a bunch of ICTV builds with different weapons. Instead, I used all sorts of different setups to take advantage of each and every feature Sociopath has. I have several reasons for why I like to do it like that, but it's mainly because I think it's more interesting to watch. It also helps others learn the ins and outs of perk decks that they may not know very well. On top of that, it's also just more fun for me to build and record. The downside of that is that the videos take longer to make. On top of me writing multi-thousand word scripts, I need to record a lot of varying footage and then edit all of it together. Even still, I enjoy the video making process, no matter how tedious it may be. And don't worry, I'm already working on the next build video. A few people also asked about streams, more specifically Twitch streams I guess. And yes, I do those. It's just that they're currently on a hold because I'm busy with school. However, they will be back, so don't worry about that.